A billionaire hunting for free Wi-Fi in a foreign city. A two-time finals MVP still driving a rusted truck from his college days. And a Hall of Famer who genuinely panicked over lost Wingstop coupons. In a league built on excess, these men chose a different playbook entirely. These are the 10 extremely rich black NBA players who live like they are poor. Number 10. Trey Burke, the $5,000 man. The moment Trey Burke heard his name called 9th overall in the 2013 NBA draft, the world expected him to do what top 10 picks have always done. Go spend something immediately. The entourage, the jewelry, the mansion with the waterfall, nobody actually uses. That is the unwritten rookie contract every high pick is expected to honor the moment the commissioner shakes their hand. Burke ignored every word of it before the confetti hit the floor. Despite signing a guaranteed multi-million-dollar deal that would have justified almost any purchase a 22-year-old could imagine, he locked himself into a personal spending cap of $5,000 a month. Not his fun money, not his entertainment budget, his entire operating budget for everything. Rent, gas, groceries, clothes, every daily expense had to survive inside that single number. In a league where one table at a nightclub can run $10,000 before the first bottle arrives, Burke was living on a budget that would embarrass most entry-level accountants while his actual millions sat untouched, compounding quietly in the background. His peers thought he was performing a character. He was not. He was building a financial runway that most professional athletes never think about until the career is over and the money is already gone. His logic was simple. If he could construct a life that did not require an NBA salary to function, he would never be desperate for the next contract. He would never take a bad deal out of financial pressure. He engineered that life deliberately, and he did it before the first professional check even cleared. Number 9. Grant Hill, the generational blueprint. Grant Hill arrived in the NBA carrying expectations that would have crushed a less grounded man. The sports media declared him the next Michael Jordan. He had the FILA deal, the Detroit money, and a global spotlight waiting to consume him. Instead of heading to the nearest luxury dealership to celebrate what most people would have treated as a complete arrival, he went home and sat down with his parents. His father had played professional football and understood the financial traps waiting for young men who suddenly found themselves holding more money than their entire community had ever seen. Together, they drew a hard line between the millions flowing in and the lifestyle Hill was actually permitted to live. His spending was capped firmly, and everything beyond that ceiling was treated as if it simply did not exist. No designer hauls, no fleet of depreciating vehicles, no ego investments designed to impress people he would never see again after the season ended. Hill viewed his NBA career as a funding round for his second life, not the destination itself. He was quietly investing in a future while his peers were burning through their present. By the time his playing days ended, he walked directly into ownership. He held a stake in the Atlanta Hawks. He built a broadcasting career, and his net worth sits north of $250 million. He did not sacrifice the spending habits of his 20s for nothing. He lived that way so he could eventually sit in the owner's box of the league that used to employ him. He traded unnecessary consumption for leverage that compounded for decades. Number 8. Andre Iguodala, the Silicon Valley monk. Most players who landed in the Bay Area during the Warriors dynasty noticed the weather and the food scene. Andre Iguodala noticed the money moving underneath the surface. He was suiting up for Golden State while the greatest concentration of private wealth creation in modern history was unfolding within 30 minutes of the arena in every direction. He decided he was going to become part of that story. But first, he had to earn his way into rooms that did not typically open for professional athletes. The venture capitalists on Sand Hill Road were not handing equity to players who showed up in Maybachs with entourages trailing behind them. Iguodala understood that immediately and adjusted faster than anyone expected. He stripped his entire presentation down. Practical cars, unremarkable clothes with no labels worth photographing. He started consuming books on market capitalization and startup structures during the hours his teammates spent browsing luxury catalogs. He called this period his monk phase. The principle was straightforward. If he could disappear into the tech ecosystem rather than stand out in it like a celebrity tourist, people would talk to him like a peer instead of a prop. It worked. Early equity in companies like Zoom, Cloudflare, and Datadog, before anyone outside San Francisco knew their names, turned his NBA salary into a functioning venture capital engine. He co-founded the Players Technology Summit to pull other athletes out of the depreciating asset trap and into real equity conversations. Iguodala was never chasing the title of richest man in the parking lot. He was chasing ownership in the application sitting on billions of phones. Living below his income level was simply the price of admission, and he paid it without hesitation. Number 7, Chris Paul, the point god of discipline. The way Chris Paul manages his personal finances mirrors with precision the way he controls a basketball game. Nothing wasted. Every move is deliberate. No unnecessary dribble, no extra step that does not serve a purpose, and absolutely no financial leak he has not already identified and permanently sealed. His command over a personal balance sheet operates at the same level as his command over a fourth-quarter offense with everything on the line. Before Paul earned a single professional dollar, his parents drew a line that would define his entire financial identity. When his agents offered the standard pre-draft advance of $100,000 money, most top picks burn immediately on draft night suits and luxury apartment deposits. His parents cut the number to $25,000 without blinking. Their message was direct. If you cannot manage on this for a few months, you are not ready for what comes next. He absorbed that lesson completely and has run on it ever since. Hundreds of millions in career earnings later, Paul remains one of the most famously careful spenders in the entire league. No labels purchased purely for the name on the tag, no performance spending to impress teammates whose respect he already commands. He spent years as NBPA president preaching the same gospel to every incoming rookie who believed a max contract was a permission slip to spend everything in sight. For Paul, every dollar is a decision with consequences, and every unnecessary purchase is future freedom quietly slipping out the back door. Number 6, Jimmy Butler, the minivan millionaire. Jimmy Butler carries the energy of a man who never fully trusts that the abundance surrounding him is guaranteed to stay. The hunger that shaped him never cooled. And despite contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars, the way he actually lives barely reflects the numbers attached to his name. For years during his established superstar career, his vehicle of choice was a Toyota Sienna minivan. Not a collector's piece, not an ironic statement. A completely anonymous people carrier, he drove through Miami traffic without a moment of self-consciousness. He had access to anything on any lot in any city. He chose the minivan because it was invisible. Nobody films you at a red light in a Sienna. Nobody pulls up expecting a financial miracle. The vehicle was a tool deployed for a purpose, and Butler has always understood the difference between a tool and a trophy. Nothing captures his mindset more precisely than what he built during the 2020 NBA bubble inside Disney World. While fellow multimillionaires complained about the food and general atmosphere, Butler spotted a market gap. There was no premium coffee on campus. His solution was to haul in an espresso machine and his own beans, set up inside his hotel room, and charge $20 a cup. One price, regardless of size or who was ordering. Superstar or support staff, the price was $20, cash only, no exceptions. He tracked cash flow with genuine excitement, energized by a few $100s a day, despite drawing over $30 million from his playing contract. He did not need the revenue. He needed the feeling of building something from zero. That feeling will never stop being enough for him. Number 5, Carmelo Anthony, the coupon king. Carmelo Anthony carved out over 28,000 points across his NBA career and carried a Jordan brand signature deal for most of his professional life. His total earnings run into the hundreds of millions, and his financial profile could support acquiring a grocery chain as a casual investment rather than simply shopping in one. He still clips coupons before going to the store. He has stated openly in multiple interviews that he actively hunts for discount codes and deals on everyday household items before shopping. To anyone watching from outside, this behavior seems almost theatrical, a man with generational wealth scanning his phone for 50 cents off paper towels. But Anthony grew up in Baltimore watching money vanish faster than it arrived. That sustained early exposure to financial scarcity built a filter in his thinking that no volume of NBA salary has managed to remove. For Melo, using a coupon at checkout is not about the savings generated in that single transaction. It is a principled refusal to be overcharged simply because he now has the capacity to overpay without feeling it. It is a value system, not a habit. And while he protects the small end with discipline, he simultaneously moves real capital into Melo 7 Tech Partners, his venture fund focused on digital media and consumer technology. He knows exactly when tightness serves him and exactly when a substantial check is the right move. That dual awareness is precisely what separates athletes who compound their wealth from the ones who spend their way back to zero within a decade of retirement. Number 4, Tim Duncan, the patron saint of boring wealth. 19 years with one franchise, 5 championships, $240 million in career salary, and throughout the entire length of that extraordinary run, Tim Duncan presented himself to the world in what appeared to be a rotating selection of oversized flannel shirts and clearance rack jeans that looked purchased sometime around his sophomore year at Wake Forest. Not because upgrading was financially out of reach, because he genuinely, completely, and without any performance involved, could not have cared less what anyone thought about the choices hanging in his wardrobe. Duncan was comprehensively immune to the approval machine that drives most professional athletes toward financial trouble before they reach their mid-30s. He had zero interest in competing over sneaker collections, no desire to be photographed outside the right restaurant, no ego invested in any VIP section in any city on the road schedule. That authentic indifference to external validation was his single greatest financial asset across his entire career. The lifestyle merchants and financial predators who circle NBA money depend entirely on ego to find their opening. Duncan sealed that entrance and never gave them a crack to work with. His relationship with cars followed the same principle. He loved mechanical work and eventually opened Blackjack Speed Shop, his own automotive business, but his daily driver was selected on function alone, without a single moment of consideration for what it communicated to observers. He treated cars as machines with a purpose, not symbols with price tags. Duncan didn't just protect his wealth through spending discipline. He protected the enormous mental energy his peers burn daily on image management, and he redirected every unit of it toward championships and businesses that will generate returns long after anyone stops asking for his autograph. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the survivor's arithmetic. Nobody on this list arrived at financial discipline through a meeting with a financial advisor, but for Giannis, the math was never theoretical. Growing up stateless in Greece with a family that could not reliably guarantee dinner, he was selling DVDs and cheap trinkets on the streets of Athens before reaching his teenage years. That depth of genuine hunger does not dissolve when a professional contract clears. It rewires something permanent in the way you perceive money for the rest of your life. When Giannis arrived in Milwaukee and the salary began flowing, the experience was more disorienting than liberating. He did not know how to trust the numbers he was seeing. His first instinct was to move as much as possible back to his family in Greece. He wired money home so aggressively during his rookie year that he had no cab fare to get to the arena on an actual game day. His response was not to call a car service. He started running toward the stadium on foot until fans recognized him on the street and offered him a ride. Even after signing a Supermax extension worth over $200 million, the scarcity script his childhood wrote still runs quietly underneath everything. He was filmed genuinely celebrating a complimentary smoothie with the authentic enthusiasm most people reserve for life-changing news. He shared basketball shoes with his brothers growing up because owning multiple pairs simultaneously felt genuinely irresponsible. He collects complimentary water bottles from team facilities out of a deeply embedded resistance to waste in any form. Giannis does not perform frugality for an audience. He lives it because he carries with perfect clarity the memory of what the alternative to abundance actually feels and tastes like. And he has made a permanent commitment to never let that memory lose its power over his decisions. Number 2, Kawhi Leonard, the gas guzzler. 2 championships with 2 different franchises, 2 Finals MVP awards, career earnings pushing comfortably past $250 million. And for a significant stretch of his superstar years, Kawhi Leonard's daily transportation was a 1997 Chevrolet Tahoe he had been driving since his undergraduate days at San Diego State. Not maintained as a vintage piece for weekend appearances, not deployed as a calculated, ironic statement, his actual everyday vehicle for getting from one place to another. He named it the gas guzzler and kept driving it long after contracts that could have funded an entire private car museum were deposited and invested. When journalists pressed him on the obvious contradiction, his answer arrived with the same economy of movement he brings to defensive assignments. It runs, and it's paid off. 8 words carrying a complete financial philosophy. If something performs its function and carries no remaining debt, replacing it is not a reward. It is waste dressed up as something you supposedly earned. But the story that defines his relationship with money most memorably does not involve the Tahoe at all. It involves Wingstop. A man with a 9-figure net worth experienced genuine distress after misplacing a collection of fast food coupons, not concerned about affording the wings without the discount. Real distress about losing the deal itself. He favors the mango habanero, but what he values more is the satisfaction of earning the reduction. Kawhi approaches every financial transaction with the same emotionless precision he deploys against the best offensive players in the world. No wasted motion, no performance, no decision made for an observer's benefit. He could fund a new Wingstop franchise every week without a measurable impact on his balance sheet. He still prefers earning the complimentary meal because the coupon confirmed he had it coming. Number 1, LeBron James, the billionaire who won't pay for Wi-Fi. There is rich, there is wealthy, and then there is a category that requires its own language entirely, which is where LeBron James currently lives. Forbes certified him as the first active NBA player in league history to reach confirmed billionaire status. He carries equity in Fenway Sports Group, the ownership entity behind both the Boston Red Sox and Liverpool FC. He controls Spring Hill Entertainment and its growing content portfolio. He holds a lifetime partnership with Nike that analysts have valued in the billions across its projected term. His financial footprint spans industries most professional athletes never seriously consider entering. And this same man will walk in deliberate circles around a foreign city searching for a free Wi-Fi connection before he authorizes international data roaming charges on his phone. This is not locker room mythology. Dwayne Wade confirmed the behavior publicly and without apparent embarrassment on LeBron's behalf. Gabrielle Union has described him going completely dark during international travel, becoming unreachable until he locates a wireless connection that costs him nothing. The man who could acquire a telecommunications company prefers wandering in search of a free signal over approving a roaming fee. He applies the identical logic to music streaming, sitting through full 30-second advertisements rather than upgrading to the commercial-free tier for $5 a month. These are verified behaviors, confirmed by people who have watched them unfold repeatedly across multiple years and multiple continents. And here is what makes LeBron's story the most powerful on this entire list. He is not protective of capital across the board. He built an entire school for at-risk children in Akron using his own resources, and it continues operating and expanding. He donates at a scale most genuinely wealthy people never approach across a full lifetime of charitable intention. The frugality at the small end of his financial life is not sourced in love of money for its own sake. It is sourced in the exact philosophy that made accumulating $1 billion possible in the first place. He does not apply a different standard of respect to $5 than he applies to $5 million. He identifies waste with the same recognition regardless of the scale attached to it. Every unnecessary charge sealed is another unit of capital compounding on the correct side of the ledger. LeBron stays deliberately lean in the small, routine, invisible financial moments so that when the large moments arrive, the ones that actually reshape generational wealth, his thinking is completely unclouded by the habits of someone who stopped paying attention to the details. He is not performing humility for an audience that finds it charming. He is running the identical equation that built everything from the beginning. Control every variable available to you, eliminate every form of waste you can identify, stack the compounding difference, and never stop treating small decisions as if they matter, because they always do. From Kawhi Leonard's college truck to LeBron James and his ongoing fight against roaming charges, these men have written a more honest definition of what extraordinary wealth looks like up close. Which frugal move hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments below. If this opened your eyes to the mindset that actually builds generational wealth, rather than just displays of luxury, hit subscribe for more deep dives into the mindset of the ultra-wealthy. We'll see you in the next one.